T-Mobile sells fiber now in 3 cities. The pilot fiber situation in Manhattan, and now they have added 2 cities, 2 markets in Colorado, North Glen and Pueblo. They are selling a 500 megabit speed tier and a 1 gig speed tier. The 500 meg is $55. The gig is like 70. In and of itself, the pricing attractive. It's going to be limited distribution. They've got to deal with Intrepid Fiber. Moose, did you catch news of this week, and what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, please. Did I catch news? let me tell you. This confirms the successes that AT&T and Frontier are currently having. That anybody that can do fiber wants to do fiber. Anybody that wants to expand in new markets that are currently underserved. Like, for example, Mesa, Arizona is completely overbuilt by multiple providers.
5, 6 different fiber builders.
Literally, that is like the perfect combination because you're going to be seeing pricing go nuts over there. Like, imagine in one address, you have 4, 5, 6 fiber providers. So you're going to have competition to the max right there. $40 a month for, a gig, or you'll have multi-gig, 2 gig, 5 gig for $100, $100 for 5 gig. That'd be crazy. Mm-hmm. So anyways, this just confirms exactly what AT&T and Frontier strategy has been saying from the beginning, is that everybody wants to get into fiber. And remember this, right? Unfortunately, T-Mobile is going to be building this out with another company. So there's not like it's their own fiber, okay?
Right.
It's going to be somebody else's fiber that they're going to be pitching, but it's like white labeling it. You know how they have Amazon Basics, right? Mm-hmm. That's a white label of multiple different products from who knows, China, Vietnam, etc. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the same thing that we're doing here with T Fiber, but it's white labeled from an unknown fiber company. I mean, we know who the fiber company is. It was on the article.
Intrepid.
Intrepid, exactly. But it's an relatively unknown fiber company.
It's probably one of the new, like within the last 5 years, fiber builders that, came out of all that government funding kind of stimulus that was going on, infrastructure bill, and they took advantage. They struck while the iron is hot. And, I don't think it's a situation where these fiber companies are looking to be bought out. I think it's just, hey, we built out this fiber. We don't have a brand. Let's get these other companies selling it for us. So Brian, jump in on this. Your thoughts or opinions, commentary on it?
I'm not impressed at all. And it's for the reason that was just given. I mean, T-Mobile doesn't own the fiber. They don't necessarily operate it. They just slap their brand on it and they're selling it just so that they can say they're in the fiber game. It's just marketing. That's all it is. I'm not impressed at all. They're not using it for their cells or anything like that. They're for the macros or the small cells. It's just fiber to the prim. I mean, I'm not impressed. It's just kind of a half-hearted attempt to say you're in the fiber game so that you can say you're in the fiber game. But to me, it's just another telltale sign that they can't afford to play ball. They don't have the money. They can't afford to do what AT&T or Verizon is doing. They can't afford it. And that's unfortunate.
But don't you think there must have been some kind of success with the pilot, the pilot fiber build in Manhattan, where they kind of like what they see? Maybe it's multi-dwelling units, or maybe it's condos and townhomes or something. But it looks like they must have gotten some positive feedback and some good things from that part. And then they went to these 2 cities. They made partnerships. And I think personally, there's going to be more of this from them. I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to be slow. I think it's going to be small scale, but I think more is coming. You agree or disagree with that sentiment, right?
I agree that more will come, but I'm not sure it's because it's selling particularly well or anything. I don't know. Living in New York City, I can say I haven't heard one peep about T-Fiber at all. I know it's in Manhattan, according to the article, and that's great. but I haven't heard a thing about it. I haven't seen any advertisements about it. I haven't seen any of that stuff. So I'm not convinced that it's just something like hotcakes. I'm really not. To me, this is T-Mobile doing what T-Mobile does from a marketing standpoint. They just want to be able to say they're in the fiber game. They want to appease investors. They want to appease their shareholders who have been asking questions every single quarter during analyst calls about when are you guys going to get into fiber? And this, to me, is a half-hearted attempt by a company who can't really afford to be in the fiber game. They're pretty much, putting the white label.
What do you expect them to do? What do you expect T-Mobile to do with fiber? Because they have to start somewhere.
If it was me, as opposed to going FTTP like they're doing now, I would have used it for my cells, for my small cells, for my macros.
But they have to build it. You have to build it from somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. But if you're going to build it, if you're going to spend any money, get those same companies to build to your small cells, build to your macros. That's going to give you.
I do have something on this though. What's odd about? Have you guys actually looked up these companies and try to see if you can subscribe to their service, like Intrepid?
No, Intrepid doesn't have a
they don't have a
facing brand.
Yeah,
They're just a builder.
Yeah, they're just a builder.
Yeah, but they're owned by a company called Brookfield, who owns fiber all over the planet.
Yeah, but
now,
that's
interesting.
A holdings company. That's not exactly a fiber business.
But what I'm getting at is, what if T-Mobile is dipping their toe in with these companies to decide later if they might want to try to purchase them when they're ready?
Well, what are they waiting on? What research? What research would they need? What research would they need to do to determine? Hey, I want to get in fiber. That's
okay. Here's what I'm saying. If somebody else has already built a network, right, but they have no sales department, and they say, hey, we got to utilize this asset, and T-Mobile shows up and says, we'll utilize it. Years down the road, T-Mobile may double back and say, you know what, we want to own it now. They may buy it later. It's cheaper to buy fiber than it is to build it. So
Madam's onto something.
That's all I'm saying.
Brian, just think about what Verizon did with MCI. They just bought it.
MCI.
They bought MCI. They were not building out fiber. They bought MCI, then they started with one fiber.
Yeah.
That doesn't make. I'm not understanding how that's the same thing. MCI.
Okay, I'll tell you why. Because they did exactly what you're talking about. Verizon rode on MCI's backhaul in the early days. MCI was backhauling for everybody nationwide, damn near. They were doing all the long distance.
Only out of footprint. So I hear you. Out of footprint, but they owned and operated a network. Like MCI had a network. They weren't just fiber builders.
But they weren't. But they weren't public facing. They were only doing enterprise level stuff. Verizon. All I'm saying is Verizon dipped their toe in that water and then turned around and bought it. Is what I'm saying. I ain't saying they did residential. I'm saying they were using it as backhaul, and they were like, you know what? We might need to just own this now. That's all I'm saying. It's kind of what I'm saying is history repeats itself. History repeats itself over and over again. And if history told us anything, these companies always start mingling before they turn around and just buy. So just a thought.
I don't disagree, but and I think your point is valid. I just don't think it necessarily negates mine. You may not be intended to negate, and that's cool.
No, I'm not trying to negate. I was just saying, think about if that's what it is. Why would T-Mobile go next to Intrepid and build a brand new network when Intrepid's got a whole underutilized network sitting there in the ground?
Well, that's my whole point though. Why not just buy them? And the reason for that is probably because they can't afford to do it right now. So maybe that's why the partnership is in place. But it's still, but it's still
T-Mobile TV. Look at T-Vision.
But it still doesn't make sense though. Because if you start with FTTP, which is the more difficult build than it is to do your actual infrastructure that you already have with your cells, it doesn't make sense to start there. That's the more expensive thing to do.
But remember, Brian, Verizon was first, they started with Fios, and then they got with the cell phone doing their one fiber backhaul.
But
they first started with residential.